The story starts with Roberto visiting a car repair shop. The mechanic tells him the car is now fixed and almost like new after replacing the damaged parts. Roberto thanks him, signs the receipt, and drives the car around the city. Later, though, he abandons the car on the road and walks away as if it doesn't belong to him. The focus then shifts to Roberto's teenage daughter Alejandra, who is spending time at the beach. We learn that Roberto and Alejandra are leaving their home in Puerto Vallarta to start a new life in Mexico City. Their car ride is quiet, with little conversation, and there's a tense atmosphere. At one point, Alejandra asks what happened to the car. Roberto lies, saying he sold it after it was repaired. The rest of the journey is silent, and they eventually arrive at their new apartment in Mexico City. As they settle in, the strained relationship between Roberto and Alejandra becomes apparent. While unpacking, Roberto tries to hide his feelings but is clearly upset. It's obvious something tragic has happened, and both are struggling to move on from their painful past. The next morning, Alejandra begins at her new school. She feels nervous and out of place, unsure where to sit in class or how to make friends. During a break, the principal tells her about the school's strict rules, including mandatory drug tests for all students. Alejandra agrees and provides a urine sample. At lunch, a group of classmates approaches her. They introduce themselves as Jose, Camila, Javier, Irene, and Manuel. At first, they seem friendly, but their questions quickly become personal and invasive. They ask why she moved, what her father does, and other private details. Alejandra tries to answer politely, mentioning her love for surfing and her father's plan to open a seafood restaurant. Despite her efforts, they laugh and act dismissive. Later, the group invites her to hang out after school. Alejandra calls Roberto for permission, and he, busy with his restaurant plans, is happy she's making friends. After school, Alejandra joins them at Jose's house. While the boys play video games, the girls talk. Camila casually admits she uses cannabis and mentions she expects her drug test to be positive. She explains that the school offers rehabilitation programs instead of strict punishments. She also shares how some students cheat on the tests by swapping urine samples. That evening, Alejandra spends time with her father, but their relationship remains distant. They quietly watch a movie before heading to bed. The next day, Roberto has problems at work. His assistant chef struggles with basic tasks, leaving Roberto frustrated and causing him to leave work early. The following day, Roberto receives a call from Alejandra's school, informing him that her drug test came back positive. In the car, Roberto calmly confronts Alejandra. She admits she has been smoking for 3 months. Instead of scolding her harshly, Roberto asks her to stop. Alejandra promises to quit, and they drop the subject. While Alejandra continues to spend time with her classmates, Roberto struggles emotionally. Still grieving, he snaps at work and ends up leaving early again to rest at home. That evening, Alejandra asks him what's wrong, and he shares his frustrations with work. She suggests going back to the restaurant to help. There, Alejandra offers practical advice to the assistant chef, showing she has knowledge of cooking from growing up around her father's work. Later, Roberto takes Alejandra shopping, but he remains distant, making it hard to tell if he's happy with their new life. In another scene, Roberto visits an insurance office. The agent asks why he hasn't reported his wife Lucia's funeral, revealing she died in a car accident in Puerto Vallarta. Roberto struggles to talk about it and declines the agent's offer of psychological counseling for Alejandra. Meanwhile, Alejandra attends a party at a wealthy friend's house. Camila explains the group's romantic dynamics, who is dating and who has a crush. That night, the group relaxes in a jacuzzi, drinking and smoking marijuana. Though Alejandra promised Roberto she wouldn't smoke, the group pressures her to join. She refuses the joint, but takes a sip of alcohol to fit in. Jose flirts with Alejandra, and they sneak into a bathroom to kiss. However, Jose secretly records the moment on his phone. Alejandra notices but doesn't stop him. Midway, she sees her reflection in the mirror and feels uncomfortable, avoiding looking at herself. At home, Roberto asks Alejandra about her weekend. Though he suspects she spent time with a boy, he doesn't push for details. Later, Alejandra receives a video of her and Jose in the bathroom. Shocked and embarrassed, she quickly closes her laptop. The next day at school, Alejandra faces judgmental stares and teasing from classmates who have seen the video. Some openly show it to her, making cruel comments. During lunch, Camila and Irene distance themselves, with Camila blaming Alejandra for the situation. That evening, Alejandra cooks dinner for Roberto. The following day, the bullying worsens, with students passing her mean notes. During a break, Manuel and Javier corner her in the girls' bathroom to harass her. Frustrated and scared, Alejandra runs out, grabs one of their phones, and smashes it in anger. This leads to a meeting with the principal, where Roberto is called in. Manuel lies, claiming they were working on a school project, and that Alejandra overreacted. To protect her father from further embarrassment, Alejandra goes along with the story. Manuel even demands a new phone, saying Alejandra broke his without reason. At home that evening, Roberto tries to talk to Alejandra, but she barely responds. She seems distant and cold. When he asks why she's acting out, Alejandra avoids answering and retreats to her room. The next day, the bullying continues. Students draw rude pictures and make jokes about her. Alejandra feels alone while Jose remains popular and unaffected. He tries to talk to her, but this only worsens things with Camila, who clearly likes him. The video has caused Camila to dislike Alejandra even more. During lunch, Camila and Irene invite Alejandra to a party, hoping to fix their friendship. Alejandra agrees. That afternoon, while getting ready at Camila's house, the girls pressure Alejandra to wear a revealing dress. When she hesitates, they mock her and insist the dress makes her look pretty. They also take a picture of her without asking, joking that Jose will like it. This upsets Alejandra, but the girls continue teasing her. When Alejandra tries to leave, the bullying turns physical. Camila slaps her, and with Irene's help, cuts Alejandra's hair with scissors. Devastated, Alejandra locks herself in the bathroom, crying as she stares at her reflection. Her life feels like a nightmare, and it's clear things might get worse. The next day, the harassment continues. Manuel and Javier approach Alejandra in class, taunting her. Manuel grabs her ring and pockets it. Angry and tired of the bullying, Alejandra snatches the ring back and punches Manuel in frustration. That afternoon, Alejandra went home and lay on her bed, overwhelmed by everything she was going through. Her phone rang, a call from family in Puerto Vallarta. They told her that her mother's car, which was supposed to have been sold, had been found abandoned a few days ago. It was still registered under her father's name. This news shocked Alejandra, and she went to her father's restaurant to confront him. When he admitted it was true, Alejandra felt betrayed and left, deeply hurt. Back at home, she thought about the tragic accident that had taken her mother's life. The memories flooded back, and the pain felt fresh all over again. The next day, Alejandra went to school and gave Manuel a new phone, as he had demanded in exchange for the one she had broken. Later, she spent some time swimming alone before heading back to class. It was her birthday, the detail she had shared with her so-called friends when they first met. But instead of celebrating, they used it as another way to humiliate her. After class, her classmates surrounded her, making it impossible for her to leave. Someone brought a cake and sarcastically said it was special for her. They smeared cake all over her face, with Camila being especially cruel. By the end, they pushed her face into the cake, leaving Alejandra humiliated and sick. When she started throwing up, they finally walked away. That night, Alejandra hit her breaking point. She decided to leave the city and return to Puerto Vallarta. She even bought a bus ticket, but at the last moment, she changed her mind and went back home. Her father had prepared a special dinner for her birthday, but their strained relationship made it impossible for Alejandra to feel comforted or supported. The next day, the class went on an overnight trip with their teachers. On the bus, Alejandra sat alone, avoiding Jose, who tried to talk to her. She hated him, blaming him for all the pain she was going through. At the trip's destination, Alejandra was placed in a room with two girls who were just as cruel as her other bullies. They locked her in the bathroom by blocking the door with furniture. While she was stuck inside, they went through her belongings and took whatever they wanted. Alejandra stayed trapped in the bathroom for hours, helpless and alone. That evening, the rest of the class had a party where they drank too much and acted recklessly. Jose and Camila were kissing in front of everyone, while others joined in the wild behavior. Later in the night, Javier assaulted Alejandra, an act he shamelessly bragged about to Manuel. The complete lack of care or kindness from anyone around her pushed Alejandra further into despair. Late at night, the group went to the beach for a campfire, dragging Alejandra along even though she was exhausted, both physically and emotionally. The bullying didn't stop. They forced her to drink alcohol, poured it on her face, and humiliated her further. The boys went to the extreme of urinating on her, reducing her to tears in front of everyone. Even the girls, disgusted by the boys' actions, decided Alejandra needed to clean up and forced her into the ocean. Laughing and playing, they forgot about her. Weak and unable to swim, Alejandra drifted further into the water. When they realized she was gone, it was too late. Believing she had drowned, they frantically searched and called her name, but she was nowhere to be found. Panicked and scared, the group huddled by the fire, trying to figure out how to explain what had happened. However, Alejandra hadn't drowned. She managed to pull herself out of the water far away from them. Exhausted but alive, she emerged from the ocean. The next morning, as the students prepared to leave, the teachers took attendance and realized Alejandra was missing. Concerned, they searched her room and quickly suspected something terrible had happened. Questioning the students, they claimed they had been playing by the ocean when Alejandra disappeared. Offering no other details, the teachers accepted their story and informed Alejandra's father, Roberto, that his daughter was missing. Authorities began searching the waters for her body. Devastated, Roberto quickly left for the beach, desperate to find her. Meanwhile, Alejandra had already made her way to the bus station and bought a ticket to Puerto Vallarta. This time, she didn't hesitate. She got on the bus and left. Back at the beach, Roberto searched tirelessly, staring at the vast ocean, believing it had taken his daughter. Overwhelmed with grief and guilt, he filed a missing person report with the police and drove aimlessly through the city, hoping to see her. When Alejandra arrived in Puerto Vallarta, she went to the house she had once shared with her parents. The house, now under renovation, was empty. Alejandra sneaked in through a kitchen window and went to her old bedroom. Lying on her childhood bed, she finally felt a moment of peace, away from the torment she had endured. That night, Roberto returned home after a long day of searching and found a CD slipped under his door. Curious, he played it on his laptop. What he saw left him in silent agony. It was the video of Alejandra and Jose. The truth of what his daughter had been going through hit him hard, filling him with guilt and sorrow. The next morning, Roberto went to Alejandra's school and showed the video to the principal. Jose was called to the office and questioned. He admitted to recording the video but denied sending it, claiming it was just for fun and that Alejandra had agreed to it. Other students were also called in, and the full extent of the bullying was exposed. Chaos broke out as the group turned on each other, blaming one another for spreading the video and tormenting Alejandra. That night, Roberto continued his search for Alejandra, driving aimlessly through the streets until exhaustion forced him to stop and sleep in his car. The next day, as Jose was being driven to school by his chauffeur, Roberto spotted their car and followed them. At a red light, he jumped out, pulled Jose from the back seat, and forced him into his own car, threatening him if he resisted. In broad daylight, Roberto abducted Jose, leaving the stunned chauffeur behind. Roberto took Jose to a remote location and checked into a motel. He tied Jose's hands behind his back and dragged him into a room, but his rage wasn't satisfied. Soon, Roberto forced Jose into a boat he had prepared earlier and took him far out to sea. Jose begged for mercy, but Roberto was consumed by anger and grief, convinced that Alejandra had died because of the bullying and the shame caused by the video. Roberto felt he had lost everything, his wife, Lucia, and now his daughter, Alejandra. With nothing left to lose, he threw Jose overboard into the ocean without hesitation. As Jose's cries faded, Roberto continued driving the boat, his face blank, lost in thought over what he had done. Unbeknownst to Roberto, Alejandra was alive and safe in Puerto Vallarta, the one place where she felt she could truly find peace.